Hard my hands can bend the band road makes your saving help my shield, and your right hand sustains me. Trains my hands for long spear. Hands can bend the band makes your saving help my shield, and your right hand sustains me.
I juggle, I do some like faux torsion where I'm like kind of flexible, and groundwork, character work, clown, various aerial, all sorts of other stuff. Yeah.
And what got you into circus?
Well, I was always like fascinated by the circus when I was a kid, and was like one of those, gee, I wish I could do that if I was a cool person born into a circus family kind of people. But when I went to college, there was a circus club, and I was like, now's your chance. And so I went to it, and after a couple of meetings, I was like, yes, this is what I'd like to do with the rest of my life. And I kind of studied what I studied, but knew that after college I'd be doing that.
Yes, Ma'am officially came into existence January of this year, 2018. Okay. So technically, what is that, like 9-10 months? Unofficially, before Yes Ma'am really existed, I started working with Maggie Carlin a year before we filed the paperwork. So January of 2017, we had our idea for our first show and started messing around on various apparatuses and kind of getting it together. But also we have a lot of theater background amongst us, and so we like telling stories. And that was what always bothered me, was the abstractness of circus or the short-livedness of it. Because you might have an act with a really good story in it, but it's 5 minutes long. And then where does it go? What happens after? What's next?
So how do you feel that you bring your theater background to the circus? Like, how do you use that to tell the stories?
To begin with, we have a story, which is already not the most common thing in circus, to have a fixed narrative, not an ambiguous, oh, we leave it up to the audience to interpret kind of message, but no, this is what happens. There is a script, there is a storyline, there is a plot. There are characters. We might never speak the names out loud, but they have names and clearly defined relationships.
Is there anything we still need to say?
Queer! Oh yeah, we're all queer. We're all really queer. I don't think any of us are, 100% straight.
Matthew is.
Oh, well, Matthew is, but sure.
If he said he wasn't, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Also, except for Matthew, like all of the performers are women, so we've got kind of the, I guess, opposite gender balance as a lot of. We still have the opposite gender balance as most circus groups. I feel like a lot of groups is like big burly men and a cute little girl that they throw through the air, which is that isn't all groups, but there's definitely like a little bit of a gender imbalance in some circus groups that we definitely formed this as a kind of way to not be that. I mean, we're Yes Ma'am Circus, and we're all we're committed to not having the patriarchy be a thing in our circus.
Future of Yes Ma'am Circus is probably a continuation and more shows of like narrative storytelling, kind of theater-based circus. I know we've got 2 shows in mind for the future right now. One of them is 12th Night. And the other one is a like murder mystery sort of thing. We call it Whodunit, a circus whodunit. So doing kind of like, if you know the Clue movie, like that sort of like humor camp thing. And so playing with like 12th Night is more known as Shakespeare, that kind of thing, but it's still got that, drama and play to it. And then like Whodunit would be more of a like maybe more like adult-oriented, but also just like playful, dark humor. So trying to like vary what we're doing, like vary the tone.
Man, hey,
get right down on your knees and pray. Thank the Lord I don't have my way. You're a marked man, brother, you're a marked man. I will close my eyes, then 3, 2, 1. The guilty hide, the guilty run. I'll make you fly till the day I'm done. You're a marked man, brother, you're a marked man, hey.
When you wash circus equipment, it gets very slippery all of a sudden.
But it does need to be washed because it gets very ripe.
Oh yeah. The kids in Kids Silk's class, these smell like feet. I don't think
Because
they've
your feet are on
ever
them.
been washed. No, we just washed them. Why do they still smell like feet? Because of
your
all
feet
the
are
feet.
all over them.
They smell
you
like
don't wash your
death.
feet. My favorite is when I'm like, well, it's because you're always grabbing them with your crotch, right? And that doesn't smell nice. And they're like, she said crotch.